Hello everyone! If you're hearing my voice, it means we finally have something new. Squad 34 had just received a major update, and with it comes a brand new Pacific theater map, Guadalcanal. Before diving into the heart of this long-awaited update, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on the game's recent state since the release of Iwo Jima back in February. If you're already familiar with the situation, feel free to skip ahead using the video chapters. So, what happened exactly? After months of full-speed development, the combined effort of Offworld and Mercuriats finally unveiled the Pacific Front with Iwo Jima, introducing 2 new factions and a slew of more or less minor additions to flesh out the game's content. Everything was looking good, the playtests were promising, the build was solid, and Offworld's marketing team had prepared the ground well across all platforms. In short, the stars were aligned. But the moment the release button was pressed and the live version hit, reality struck. Hard. Performance tanked, critical bugs such as undestroyable squad release popped up, and minor but widespread issues flooded in. What had been announced as a milestone moment for the game quickly turned into yet another argument for the critics served up on a silver platter. And to make things worse, the hotfixes took longer than expected, further dragging down the update's momentum. But the question is why? Whether it was voodoo, an intense mistake, lack of resources, or something else entirely, one thing is clear. The game's code, originally based on Squad, has been heavily modified over the years by Periscope Games, the team behind Squad 34 at first. Having spent quite some time myself in the game's modding community, I can tell you this with confidence. Squad 34 is built on shaky foundations. It's a difficult base to work with, full of surprises that tend to reveal themselves only after hours of painstaking debugging. Looking back, it's easy to blame the infamous spaghetti code, but whether we like it or not, well, it's the truth, it's here. The codebase is a chaotic mess, and it's a real headache not just for modders, but also for developers at Offworld and Mercuriats. And among the many headaches it brings, there's one in particular. A build that runs fine in testing can completely fall apart once it goes live. Unfortunately, that's what seems to have happened here. Since then, player numbers have remained relatively low, but this incident at least had one positive side effect. It made bug fixing and optimization Mercuriat's new top priority. Since February, all minor updates have focused almost exclusively on fixing issues and improving stability, with new content held back until Guadalcanal. And here we are at last. Time to light a candle and hope this update finally gives Squad 34 the stable foundations it needs, without the ghost of broken code crashing the party. Now that we have covered the backstory, let's just jump into the update itself. As usual, I'll only go over the key highlights. I'm not going to recite the entire changelog line by line for 4 hours. You can find the full list in the video description. First off, the Guadalcanal map features 3 seeding layers, 2 frontline layers, and 8 offensive layers. These are further divided by location-based names depending on where the objectives are. Henderson Field, the airstrips, Edson's Ridge, the 45 ridgelines, or simply Guadalcanal with the dense jungle and the scattered encampments. Visually, the map clearly draws inspiration from classic war movies and series, all the while staying true to the historical terrain. It's mostly a dense jungle perfect for ambushes. It's hard to see the enemies, but you can easily hear them with a great mix of sound effects featuring rustling leaves and shifting dirt. There are also ridgelines, scattered outposts, and 2 large airfields on the northern end with wide open areas, tents, palm trees, obstacles, and uneven terrain that changes how you move and fight. So, to fight on this map, we've got 3 new factions. The 1st Raiders Battalion of the Marines, mostly equipped with Garens and SMGs, the 1st USMC Division, which trades Garens for bolt-action Springfields, and the Japanese 2nd Sendai Division with the regular weapon setup sparkled with a few additions. Each of these comes with a set of new weapons, 20 in total. For the Japanese side, we'll find the Type 26 revolver, the Swiss-designed Type BE SIG 1920 SMG, the Type 97 anti-tank rifle, the Japanese TNT satchel, and the Type 100 flamer. On the heavy weapon side, we'll find the Type 92 AA HMG, the Type 93 13.2mm gun, the Type 98 20mm, the Type 94 37mm AT gun, the 70mm Type 92 howitzer, and the massive Type 3 140mm gun in fixed emplacements on Iwo Jima. For the USMC, we'll have the Raider Stiletto, the M1918 trench knife, the Browning M1919A4, the MK2 grenade, the pineapple one, the P1941 canteen, and the M1 flamer. On the heavier side, we'll find the M1917A1 75mm artillery, and the tripod-mounted M1919A4. Next up, the vehicles, with 14 new additions. For Japan, the Type 95 Kurogane car and pickup, both with Type 93 MGs, the Type 94 and Kohei AA trucks with 20mm Type 98, and the Japanese commanders now have access to strafing runs from the famous Mitsubishi Zero and the tactical bombing from the G4M1 Betty bomber. For the US, the LVT-1 Alligator, 3 new Stuart tanks, M2A4, M3 and M3A1, and the long-awaited M4A3 Air-3 Ronson Shaman Flamer tank, which I can tell you from experience is especially terrifying, mostly with the flamer bursts we'll get to in a minute. US commanders also get strafing runs from the P-38 and bomb drops for the SBD-3. On a smaller note, the French 9040 factions now get access to the famous Renault FT in 3 versions, FTC, FTN and FT31. And now let's talk balance changes. Flamers are significantly more powerful, plus 50% damage boost, 40-meter range, a more reliable hit registration, and they now destroy rally points, the FOB tents, and other flammable deployables. The Type 38 rifle, the Type 96 and Type 11 LMGs also get a damage boost. Shotgun pellets get better velocity and range. The M1 Garand has had its sight and sight blur adjusted, all IT rifles now have more visible muzzle flashes, and the tank crews and all commander roles now come with melee weapons. An important point now, the commanders can now place deployables, just like squad leaders, and both now carry shovels. It's a seemingly small change, but that could actually shift gameplay and meta by giving more flexibility and initiative to leadership roles. Radio men are now more impactful too. They can place map markers, just like the SLs, making indirect communication and situational awareness much easier. A partial FOB radio bleed mechanic has also been implemented, similar to Squad, allowing defenders a short window to reclaim a radio before it's permanently lost. The frontline game mode has also been reworked. Previously, only attackers with explosives could destroy objectives, which often led to full team being blocked by a few players not doing their job. Now, any attacker can arm an objective by using F, triggering a delayed explosion from a charge, and defenders can defuse it the same way. On the sound design side, there are several welcome refinements, better specialization of comms, the ability to route squad or command channels audio to different ears, and a new mic test option. Gunfire, impacts and vehicle audio have also been improved, including echo tweaks, better mid-range sounds, and updated effects for tank and armored vehicles. On the performance side, several optimization passes were done, especially on vehicle behavior and collision models, which should make for smoother, more stable gameplay when driving across maps. As for bug fixes, there's a potential fix for the long-standing APHE shell issue that's been wrecking armored combat for months. German tanks relying on these runes often see their shots do nothing, even after multiple direct hits on Shaman from a Tiger tank. If it's not fully resolved in this patch, let's hope it's high on the hotfix list, because frustration is still running high in the armor community. So off-world, Mercury Arts, please, we need that fix, thank you. Beyond that, over 50 additional fixes are listed in the changelog link below, including crash prevention, UE fixes, collision issues, and more. So, where does that leave us? Well, with update 2.2, Squad 34 is finally breathing again. The technical base is steadier, crashes are fewer, performance is improving, and for the first time in a while, we're seeing a clear direction, a sense of momentum. But once the foundation is stable, a more difficult truth emerges. The game still isn't easy to approach. The learning curve is steep, the mechanics are obscure, and for a new player, the experience often looks like this: spawn, confusion, frustration, and rage quit. At best, they uninstall, at worst, they refund. So yes, the skill ceiling is high, and that's part of the appeal, but right now that complexity isn't fully supported. Even if we've seen additions such as tutorials and tooltips, there's no real onboarding, no real guidance other than from the player themselves. And as long as that remains true, well, Squad 34 will remain what it is today, a niche title, passionate, deep, but inaccessible. If the goal is to grow the community without diluting what makes the game special, then I think the next step isn't more content, it's design. Combat readability, role balance, game flow, feedback systems, clarity of action. In short, how do we make the experience more intuitive and satisfying without watering it down? How do we lower the barrier to entry without sacrificing depth? Guadalcanal is a positive signal, but it's only a starting point. Even at its best, this update lays the groundwork for a game that still feels like a dusty gem, one that's finally ready to shine. And now, my friends, well, I think we can safely say that's where the real work begins. This was Bejdix Live, and see you in the jungle!